I'm going to break my announcement into those two pieces. I'm going to first talk about the appointment of an interim police chief, and then I'm going to ask that individual to speak for a couple of minutes, and then I'll make the announcement regarding organizational assessment after that. I'm pleased today to announce the appointment of Deputy Chief Nelson Mosley as our interim police chief, starting on September 6th with the retirement of Chief Norman Williams. Deputy Chief Mosley has been with us since 1987. He has served in the capacity in the department as police officer, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, and captain, as well as deputy chief, which he was appointed to in 2009. He currently is over our patrol or field services division, and in terms of his background, he has a Master of Science in Management, Bachelor of Science degree in Human Resource Management, both from Friends University. He is a graduate of the FBI National Academy, and he has also received numerous awards for service with the department. He has, I think, impeccable credentials and is well situated to lead the department during this interim period. So with that, I want to introduce Deputy Chief Mosley to make a few comments.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Layton, for the opportunity to serve as interim police chief. I just have a few comments to make. As interim police chief, together with Deputy Chiefs John Spear and Hassan Ramza, we will continue to carry out the mission and vision of the Wichita Police Department. In collaboration with members of the community, we will continue our work on police and community relations. We look forward to having open and honest dialogue with community members as to the vision or their vision for the police department in the future. We will also continue to reach out and work with our city departments, our unions, as well as area law enforcement agencies to continue to engage and build our relations. To the men and women of the Wichita Police Department, I want to thank you for your continued service to this community, and I look forward to our continued work in keeping Wichita a safe and secure community. Thank you.
Before we take questions, I want to go to the second announcement, and that is I have had a lot of questions regarding the recruitment and selection process for the next chief. And today I wanted to announce that we're going to take a step back before we start our recruitment process, and we're going to do an organizational assessment. I think it's a good time to look at where we are today, what our strengths are as a department, what our weaknesses are, and develop a blueprint for the future of the department. From this organizational assessment, I believe that we'll be able to determine what the job description should be for our next police chief and what skill set will be necessary to move us forward. I want this to be an inclusive effort. I want to have the usual voices and the unusual voices as part of all of this discussion. The study itself, or the assessment, will focus on at least 8 areas. And you have those 8 areas there in front of you, but I also want to read those. We'll be looking at the current operational policies and procedures of the department. We'll look at community and employee relations, the current organizational structure. We're going to look at safety and training programs inside the department. We're going to look at our current community policing model. We're going to look at the use of technology in the department and in our operations. Also, we'll look at communication and engagement activities. And finally, we'll look at interagency relations, which includes our relationship with other law enforcement agencies in the area. This assessment will be coordinated by Deputy Chief John Spear, and he'll be assisted by Deputy Police Chief Hassan Ramza. I have asked the two of them to get this work completed by the end of the year, and at that time we will then look at, as I said, the job description and the job needs for a police chief and determine a selection process from that point forward. So again, taking a pause to take a look at the current operations of the department and where we want to go in the future. I do want to say, in terms of input and how we're going to solicit that input, I've asked them to, first of all, work with the existing command staff, work with our rank and file, including their representatives through the FOP, to work with other law enforcement professionals in the region, work with the district attorney's office, work with our city law department, and a variety of neighborhood and community leaders. This is a time for us to talk about what the community expects from us in terms of our law enforcement activities, and to really set the stage for going forward. I'm looking for a good, comprehensive dialogue in the community regarding levels of service and ways that we provide service. So with that, I don't know if Deputy Chief, do either of you want to speak on this?
We'll let Nelson speak, and we'll be up there with him to field questions.
All right. Do you have any comments on that?
No.
All right, fine. We're well coordinated here, as you can tell. But we have been talking about this the entire week, and that's why we waited until Friday in order to be able to make this announcement. We're all available for questions regarding both the appointment of Chief Mosley, as well any questions you have about the organizational assessment.
Bob, I was going to ask you a little bit about the current situation as far as the police department goes.
Sure.
Are you happy with the way things have been going, or do you see some major flaws that need to be changed?
That's a great question, and I'm not going into this with any preconceived notions, but we've had a staff team that's been in place for a long period of time, and it seems to me that this is an appropriate time to evaluate where we are. There are some things that we do that I would probably say are cutting edge. We have been pretty innovative in some of our programs. At the same time, we have some, critics in the community or people who are concerned about issues, let's be honest, about racial profiling, about our use of force policy, about service levels in the community. And those are all issues that I think we need to deal with head on today as part of this assessment and determine where we're going to go in the future.
Was the chief asked to resign or forced to resign in any way?
No, he was not. His retirement was a voluntary retirement. He mentioned that, I think, last week, and that is the case.
Do you have a time frame on this period, and then ultimately
right.
the selection of a new chief?
Right. The study is to be completed by the end of December, so we'll have the results going into the new year. We'll have to take some time to process the recommendations of that report, determine, again, as I said, what the characteristics will be for the next chief, and then it'll be a deliberative process, and it'll involve members of the department, probably part of our management team, and members of the community when we go forward and make that final selection.
So you're not really taking applications at this time?
No, not at
Or
all.
searching actively?
No, we are not. No, I'm confident in the management team that you see here and the command staff that they represent, and I think we have good leadership in the department at this point.
So do you think a year from now we'll have a new chief in place?
Definitely a year from now, there'll be a new chief. I'm hoping that we'll have a 4-month period of study. Let's just be realistic. It's going to probably take another 4 months to go through a recruitment process and to get someone in that position. We're going to take our time to make sure we get the right person to lead the department.
You touched on this a little bit, but talk about what you think the department is doing well, and then the subjects that you guys want to focus on and improve on in the future.
Sure. I don't think it's fair for me at this point to say I think they're doing certain things well and certain things where we can improve. That's the whole purpose of the organizational assessment. It's not to impose just my perceptions, but to hear from the community, hear from those that are in the department right now, hear from others that work with the department, and again, help them identify what they think the strengths and weaknesses are. I could go through our performance measures and I could tell you that we do better than our peer cities in terms of the clearance of crimes. That if you look at our response time, that we're generally good or comparable to other cities of our size in the country. So I can do it empirically if you want, but that doesn't mean that that's really the best way to judge the department. We will be looking at performance measures. We will be looking at best practices from around the country so that we can learn from what other cities are doing. But again, I'm not coming in with any preconceived notion. I think it's just a good time to step back and look at what we're doing.
What is it that you think makes it a good time? Why now?
Because we have a change in leadership. Anything else? kind of talk to any of the team.
Chief Mosley?
Yes.
Just, what are you looking for as far as leadership in the department and any possible changes that you might make as an interim chief?
Yes, and I'm going to say the same thing as the manager. I don't want to look ahead, and we'll let this study serve its purpose. And right now, we do have an excellent team in place, myself and the deputy chiefs, which will also have to look at backfilling another position. I'm vacating the field services position, so we'll have to put a temporary there. So having that team in place to look at some of the items that the manager had mentioned.
Are you considering any change in structure in how departments are managed as far as positions? Other cities have commissions. It's structured very different based on their size. Is that anything that's going to be under consideration?
During this time, we're going to look at a number of things. Obviously, this team has to come together in the interim to figure out, first, doing this study, and also looking at the work at hand and getting things done. So at current, there's no plans to make any changes as far as structure of the department. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't entertain or bring something to the manager in the interim as well if there's a need to provide better service to the community.
Have you talked to former Chief Williams about this new role? Has he given you any advice?
I have not spoke to him as far as advice on any position. We discussed this as a team, had discussion with Mr. Layton, but that's as far as the discussions have gone.
John, I have a question for you. As far as the study goes, can you talk a little bit about how you're going to handle this?
Well, we're going to partner with Wichita State University. We want this to really, we want to look at a lot of things, actually. We're going to be meeting with the commanders, the captains next week on Tuesday. We're going to discuss this a little bit more. We want to obviously get a lot of input, like the manager said, and as the Deputy Chief Mosley said, we want to have a good, open, and honest dialogue with our community about the way the police department is ran and what their view and vision is for their police department. So, it's going to be a work in progress over the next 4 months, and I think it'd be premature for me to even speculate on what it's going to look like until it's completed, basically. But we're going to do some surveys and have a lot of conversations with people. So.
And that was one question too. You may have answered this already, but are you looking for input from the community?
Yes, well, that's key to this, actually. We want to know what the citizens think, and we want to know their opinions in regards to the police department, and how we've done business in the past, and how they foresee us doing business in the future.
Are you getting a sense there's something of a disconnect, or is that a perception that's out there, or?
No, it's just like the manager said, we want to go out here and engage them. This is a time, it's a great opportunity to look at this, and we want to engage the community and really see what they would like to see in the future and in their new chief.
We'll take a few more questions.
Just separate as new to interim chief Nelson.
Mosley.
What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge as interim chief, like being kind of put into this position?
Besides working for me.
That wasn't going to make the list. But right now, as usual, we have issues going on in the public eye. Building those relationships, just like John said, going and engaging our citizens on their police department and their vision for a police chief. That's first and foremost. That gives us feedback also along the way in how this department will run in the interim. But right now, I think that's the main piece.